welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 191. Hello, hello, hello. So, in case you are not aware, we have officially launched our YouTube channel. Now, I do have to give a disclaimer. At this present moment, the videos are not necessarily visual, like you can't see me yet. But I figured, I still want to start posting episodes on YouTube to build my channel there and to just, continue to reach more of an audience. So just a wider range of audience of listeners. So if you have yet to subscribe, please do so. Head to YouTube and just type in God Built This Podcast and you'll see the videos that are already present. The videos that are up as of now are just the past 2 episodes. And again, it's just the thumbnail, so the cover art of the episode art. So you'll see that, but eventually there will be me. You'll see I am not just a voice. In case, for those who may not even know me, I don't know, those who are listening, if y'all know me personally, I know some of my listeners do know me personally, and shout out to y'all for being listeners and supporting this podcast. I really appreciate it. But other people who, I don't know, someone's from Bangladesh, maybe a listener and hasn't, met me. Speaking of Bangladesh, let's talk about these Indian scammers. I mean, my God, today, I used to thought scammers were just Nigerians. Oh, I am profoundly mistaken. I am beyond wrong. Nigerians are out the window. Indians got a leg up over them because I guess all the IT startups are in Bangladesh, everywhere in India. As you guys know, I'm in this career transition and I've been applying to different positions left and right, whether in education or outside of education, just definitely outside of the classroom for sure. But I just been recently experiencing these Indian ass scammers. Literally, I'm not being, okay, maybe I'm being a little racist, but the point is, the scammers that I've been experiencing have all been Indian people. So what does that say? Am I racist or are you a scammer? Which one is the true statement here? And in this, I always say 2 things can be true. In this case, it's one thing. And that thing is there are a lot of Indian scammers. And yes, there's white scammers. You have a lot of white men who scam us every day. Look at, what was that white guy who got this elderly white guy? He scammed wealthy people, celebrities, elite people, and he eventually got caught for it, and I think he ended up taking his own life. But look, we get it. There's scammers of every race, of every ethnic background. But the scammers that I've been experiencing lately have all been Indian, okay? And I am just taken aback. So if your name ends with a Singh, what's this other guy name? This other guy who I found, well, he found me in LinkedIn. I'm applying to different positions or whatever, and my application came about. He got my application because I did submit it, whatever. And he was so thirsty. And I think that's another example of how someone is a scammer and they're posting as a legitimate job posting and they're hiring, is if they're so thirsty. If this Indian guy, not only did he message me, DM me on LinkedIn, but I didn't respond yet, right? And I read the message. Like I was fully active. Like you could see my green circle. I was definitely active. So he sees that, of course. But I didn't respond yet because I was doing my due diligence. You're not about to scam me. Absolutely not. So I was looking into it. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. This feels kind of scammerish. So I didn't respond yet. He ended up sending me an email, and the email actually was in my spam inbox, which is obviously a red flag. So it's in my spam inbox. I would have instantly ignored it or like immediately put it in the trash until he sent me another LinkedIn message in my DMs talking about I just sent you an email. So I'm like, huh? Because I'm always on my Gmail. Like I'm always looking at it. I clear up my email consistently. I only have less than 20 emails present because I don't like to have clutter in any capacity. Never mind just in physical world. I'm talking about in digital as well. So I have less than 20 messages in my email inbox, and he's talking about, oh, he sent me an email. I'm like, it's not in my regular inbox. So I check my spam. Oh, okay, it's there. So that was already a red flag. So I checked it, and then the format of that email was just so I think, look, there's something to the benefit of me being an educator for the past 10 years and me knowing that words matter, punctuation matters. I just said that. But it all matters, right? And I feel like if you are someone who are posing as a legitimate job site, a job posting, and your format, like just your format alone is just ridiculously spaced out, and there are like random words capitalized, like you're yelling at me. One thing about an English teacher, when we teach about composition, punctuation, and all of that, I tell students, don't write in all caps because you're yelling at me. That's unprofessional. It's not at all appropriate when you're writing an academic essay. Now, if you're texting someone, if you're on Twitter, like there's different rules for different contexts of language. And when you're writing a job posting email or message, why are you writing in all caps? Are you okay? Like, are you yelling at me to get this job? Like, it's just, it creates this sense of overwhelming feelings. Like, I'm supposed to just immediately watch this and read this, and I need to apply to this, and it just is overwhelming, and it's like actually scary. Like it brings about this fear. If you're someone who may struggle with anxiety or just worries in general, having all caps doesn't make you feel good. So that was already a poor sign. So I'm looking at this email, just kind of like immediately knowing that, yeah, this is suspect, but I'm still curious. Because that's just me. Like, I still want to know, how the hell do you plan on trying to convince me that you're legitimate? So I'm trying to pull up the email real quick. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I should put it up in the YouTube video, like just like clips of it. How much? I'm gonna figure out how to do that. But anyway, okay, so his Indian ass name, last name Singh, first name can't pronounce it. Just okay. Hi, Maxine. Okay, first of all, why is my first name in all caps? Are you okay? And then he says, greetings. Huh? Greetings. And he says it twice, actually. So the format is so weird, y'all. So it's greetings. Hi, Maxine. Greetings. Exclamation point. And enough with the exclamation point. I used to think exclamation point was only reserved for white girls, white women in particular, when they're in the workforce and they want to come off very, light and airy and effervescent. They use a lot of exclamation points in their emails. I experienced that a lot in Boston when I was working there. But yeah, so that was a thing. But, a lot of Indians would try to assimilate so much into American culture that they have white mannerisms. They have white ways. I know like there is like a lot of Black people hate hearing you when someone says, "Damn, you talk white," or "You trying to act white," right? When it's like, no, I'm just articulate. No, I'm just whatever. That is a slight. I do get that. I used to get that a lot when I was younger. You're an Oreo. You're Black on the white on the outside and white on the inside. Like, shut up. I'm just smarter than you, fucking asshole. I just got the honor roll every year. That's why you think I'm an Oreo. So Oreo it up then. Fuck. Get a glass of milk then, because I'm smart and you're not. Let's just start there. Sorry. No offense. Okay, so this email talking about hi Maxine. Greetings! Exclamation point. Then it says job title, academic coordinator. Location, it says a location. Salary, it gives a salary. And then it says client, Dow Jones. Huh? What the fuck are you talking about? And then job ID, and it gives these series of letters and numbers. Like, why are you writing this in this format? Like, it's literally like a header, as if he's writing a letter, and it's inappropriate for an email, a professional email. Where's the actual letterhead of your company? Where's the image that represent your company? Like, none of that is present here. So immediately I'm just looking at it like, yeah, this is definitely a scam, but let me just keep on reading because I'm interested. I'm not interested in the job, but I'm interested in how you plan on getting this off, right? I'm interested in how do you plan on trying to catfish me at this point. So then after the job ID, it reads greetings. Again, he already said greetings. So this is telling me that you must have copied and pasted this, and you obviously wasn't well in your job to be aware that you wrote this twice, and maybe this is not necessary to write twice. So he wrote greetings, and then again, he writes job title and the location. Why are you writing a location if it's a remote job? Okay. So then, hope you are doing well. Greetings from, and then it says the name of the company. This is his name, from the recruiting team of yada, 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 is a national recruiting company that partners with many of the leading employers in the life sciences. Like, what is a life science? What are you talking about? IT and financial sectors. Now, let's talk about punctuation. So that first line, the first few words I just said, all of that was in one sentence. Well, it should have been a complete sentence at this point. When I say, okay, I'm gonna start a little bit before. With many of the leading employers in the life sciences, IT, and financial services sectors, feel free to check us out at insert the URL link. Now, first of all, why did you include a comma there? Because that makes these two clauses a comma splice, okay? Now, the comma is incorrectly used here. You should have just ended the first sentence with a period and start the next sentence appropriately. Now, why are you immediately telling me to feel free to check us out? Right? Like, why is that? Why are you so quick to put that in my face? Obviously, let's just be, frank here. Like, obviously, I would have checked you out, or I've checked you out already, because I sent in my application. I put in the interest there. So I've checked you out. So what I'm saying is, if it was a legitimate email from a legitimate job posting, they wouldn't say, hey, be sure to check us out. Like, what? So and give me a link. It's like, and what I'm saying that because it comes off thirsty. Like, I'm here to convince you we are legitimate. You know, we are this legitimate and reputable company, and you should give us your data or, confidential information. So anyway, he says that I came across your profile on one of the leading job portal. And why? So he capitalized the J in job and the P in portal. That's not a proper noun. What are we? Is everybody okay? And first of all, you came across my profile. No, you didn't. I sent you my resume. But you did it though. You didn't come across it. I sent you my resume. You took that as bait and you came in gun blazing. Okay? Currently, we are recruiting for a academic coordinator. First of all, why are you saying whenever you are using no, whenever you're using the word a, you have to use it behind the word that starts off with a consonant. Being that academic starts with a vowel, the word before it can't be an A, it has to be an N, okay? So A-N. So currently we are recruiting for so A-N, that's what he should have wrote, academic coordinator job position with one of our Fortune 500 clients. And then he put an apostrophe next to client. Whose client is it? Like, what? Yo, this gave me the giggles. So, and then he's using like these fancy words. Fortune 500. Don't you want to be a part of Fortune 500? Because, people have heard that, right? That is like this big time. I work for a Fortune 500 company. I work for this Fortune 500 organization, whatever. It sounds legit. If you're working at a Fortune 500 company, you're making bank, right? That's the perception. So he decided to include that to intrigue me more. And felt that you would be a great fit for this position. How? What about me made you feel that way? We didn't even talk. I am enclosing a synopsis of the job opportunity for your perusal. So why are you starting? Look, it's not appropriate to start a complete sentence with the word so, especially in a professional email. So, because it's like suggestive, like, so, it's kind of like seductive. Ooh, so I see you here every Thursday night. Like, that's what so gives off. You can't say so. So if you are available in the job market, and then that was it. Like, that's a dependent clause. Like, so if I am, then what? Like, it should have been, first of all, you don't start off with so, but he's going to start off with so. Say, so if you are available in the job market, which obviously, if you recognize that I sent you my resume, which you did, you received it because that was bait, that would have been enough for you to use as reason for why you're interested in me. Child. Okay, so he's like, so if you are available in the job market, and then the format is wonky again. It says job description, duration of 0 to 6 months, student membership, academic coordinator, location remote. Okay, the location's remote now, but you talking about location Princeton, New Jersey earlier. What are we talking about? So now another thing, requirements for the job, or like work, I don't know, like it's just very vague. Like, an academic coordinator is actually doing what the responsibilities an academic coordinator is generally doing what he has listed here. Like, it's not far off, which I think he just simply copied and pasted it into this email. So that's why it may come off as legitimate, like, oh, okay, this is in alignment with what an academic coordinator does. But it's still not clear as to what business is this? What company am I working for? Who are y'all? And sure, you gave me a link to this company, but like, still, who the fuck are you? So, this is a joke. So then he calls me, actually. So he ends up calling me because, typically your phone number is in your resume, right? Is that weird? Should I change my number? Should I make it a Google number? But I remember one time I used a Google number when I was working in Boston, and that was for the purpose of parents who would call about their student, about their child who I was teaching. And instead of giving them my personal number, I learned, I could give them a Google number. So I used that before, but I guess something I did with the settings or whatever, it ended up messing up with my real number. And so when people would actually call me, like people in my like personal circle will call me, they couldn't reach me, texts weren't coming through. It was just weird. Like it just messed up my actual phone number. So I don't want that, and if anything, I could just block you, which I ended up doing immediately after I spoke with him. But okay, so he called me talking about, what that nigga say? First of all, I couldn't even understand him. I mean, let's just be very honest. A lot of the Indians I know, whether I met them briefly or I had a relationship with them in different settings. Let's just say that. I don't want to be too specific. But there's a lot of Indians who do have a thick accent, okay? Very thick, to the point where you just, you didn't practice any English? I don't know. It just was thick, and it was hard for me to even comprehend what he was saying. So he's on the phone, and I'm gathering a few words, and all he's doing is really talking about the company or whatever the fuck it is. And he's trying to, of course, convince that it is a legitimate company. Like, this is a real thing. So he's talking about whatever it is. And that is obviously not at all appropriate. When you are calling a potential employee, you are calling to get to know that employee. And of course, there's times when you are talking and you're sharing about the position, like you're talking about the position, you're talking about the company and the mission and the goal and all these things. But for the most part, it was him talking. There were no questions about me and my capabilities and my interests and yada. It was nothing. Like, what are we doing? So then I was like, let me just fuck with this nigga. So I was like, okay, so you think I'm a good fit for this role? What about my resume made you think that? Like, what? How, Sway? How? He's like stumbling over his words. He's not referencing anything from my resume until I asked him the second time, because the first time I asked him that question, he didn't answer it. Like, he essentially was like, I just feel like your profile is a good match. What profile? I know I have a LinkedIn, but still, what profile? Like, what are you talking about? And then once I asked the second time, then he finally referenced a section in my resume. So I'm like, okay, he must have finally pulled it up. But anyway, look, that's one example this week of an Indian scammer, okay? And then when I looked him up, or when I went to his LinkedIn, it directly said Bangladesh. Now, granted, maybe he is a recruiter from Bangladesh. Okay. I don't want it. I don't want it. Look, I feel like, oh my gosh, what I'm about to say is going to sound so fucking racist. But hear me out. I want to be able to understand what you're saying. Okay? If I can't understand you, if I can't comprehend, and we be on this, if there's just a disconnect in a very large, because it's different accents or whatever, but if there's just a complete barrier, it's gonna be a no for me, dog. It's gonna be a no for me, dog. So that's the first, well, not the first. That's one of the scammers that I experienced, one of the Indian scammers that I experienced this week. Let's talk about, I don't know if this other one is a scammer necessarily, but it was just poorly done. I feel like some Indians are, let me not say some. Look, this one in particular was just completely unprofessional. Now, I think what he does have, look, he may have not have been a scammer, but he wasn't professional, and it turned me off so much that I shouldn't have given him any inkling of my time. Thankfully, I didn't accept the invite to meet in person at the location of the job for an interview or whatever it was. It was very weird. But anyway, so what was it? So I applied to this job on Indeed, and I'm just applying to jobs left and right, just kind of like, look, if this is still a job that's directly dealing with students, I'll just figure it out in the meantime, just so I could have something, coming in, has income. That's more, consistent and all. So I applied to this like tutoring position, or it was a tutoring position. And he, like the next day, no, it was a couple hours later, I get a text, and the text just immediately said, we received your resume for the tutor position, and they gave me 4 questions to answer. So, what is the grade level subjects that I've taught? What is my hourly rate? Questions like that. And then I'm like, wait, who the fuck are you? Like, there was no introduction. There was no, it just was not a proper introduction. Like, why are you just so quick to ask me 4 questions? Who the fuck are you? You know how many job applications I'm putting in? I don't know which one are you? So I said, which company is this? And then he gave me the name. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I go back to Indeed. I'm like, okay, what position did I apply to for this job? So then I saw it. I'm like, okay, so now I have a picture in my mind. So I give him the answers to the question. And what happened? So, mind you, his text was just, again, poorly formatted. There were a couple of spelling and grammatical errors, punctuation errors as well. And I just feel like, look, I get it. We're not perfect beings, I too, no, I really don't. I'm pretty strong in my grammar and spelling, but maybe my pronunciation, like, I think sometimes I don't speak as well, or maybe not say that I do speak well, but sometimes I don't know. No, I'm not shooting myself, but like, look, we're not perfect beings. We all make mistakes, whether that's on paper or orally. Okay. And I feel like, regardless, though, there should be a level of high standard when you are an employer and you're inquiring for future employees or a potential employee. It's just very disturbing to me, the lack of attention to detail. Like, you should care about how you're coming off, especially if you're doing it through text, or email, because I can't read your tone. I can't hear your tone, right? I can only imagine it. And then if I'm looking at a couple, more than one grammatical punctuation errors, then it's gonna give me just a bad taste in my mouth. So, what happened? So then, okay, so I give him the answers to the question. He ends up like, what he say? He then asked me if I could come. So he gives me the hours. So the hours for this job, again, it's a tutoring job, is 4:30 to 7:30. And I'm like, huh? But I'm thinking, like, maybe that's okay, afternoon, students get off of school at 3, they go here, and I'm tutoring them until that time. I guess that makes sense. But I don't know an after school program that's until 7:30. Like, isn't the latest 6:00? Okay. So then he's like, what happened? So he would like to, can I come in for a meeting the following day in person at 6:30? I said, absolutely not. I don't even know you. Like, look, and we're in a day and age where the first step is not to meet in person. The first step is always typically an actual phone call, not even a text message. I know it's new now, but a text message is not the necessarily first step. It's a phone call. You'll either do a phone interview or, more often you're doing a virtual interview. So there's a pre-screening process that takes place before we meet in person. So the fact that you immediately asking me to meet in person, no, and at 6:30, like, it's basically nighttime. It's basically midnight. It's basically time for me to go to sleep. Like, I'm uncomfortable with this. So what happened? So I said, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I would rather have a virtual interview. So he agrees. And no, he ended up not saying anything for a little while. So then I'm like, oh, this nigga's a scam getter. Yeah. So I'm like, I knew you were, mind you, I said this to him directly in text. I'm like, I knew this sounded fishy. This is, I knew this is a scam. I'll be reporting you. I said, in those words. I said that because he didn't respond after I rejected his invite to meet at 6:30 for the following day. Like, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is definitely a scam because I didn't take the bait of meeting you in person so you could put me in a van and sex traffic me, So I'm like, oh, I definitely caught his ass. So I just felt like, look, this is a perfect time to go ahead and, wild out real quick. But then he finally responds probably like 10 minutes after I said that. Mind you, there was an hour or two before that passed after I rejected the in-person interview and requested a virtual one instead. So he said, oh, I'm sorry, I was with a parent, and, to explain why he didn't respond quick enough. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm thinking like, maybe I'm overreacting. And I ended up saying, oh, I had to be safe. Unfortunately, there are these scammers out here posing as legitimate job postings. So all he said in response was a thumbs up emoji. Like, is this a legitimate? Like, it was just very unprofessional. So I'm like, okay. Next day comes, y'all. And it's time for our virtual interview. Mind you, I didn't get a link at all prior to the time of our interview. And I'm thinking like it's not going to happen. I'm at the park taking a walk, just enjoying nature, nice breeze outside here in Houston. And I get a notification I get a text message confirming the Zoom link. So I'm like, oh shit is gonna really happen. So I go home, get ready enough to look presentable for a virtual interview, and what happened? So I do that, and so it's 6:30. So it's still the 6:30 time for an interview. It's 6:30, y'all. I go in the Zoom link at like 6:25. And I'm waiting. It's, it's definitely now 6:30. That's our actual time. It's now 6:37. I said to myself, look, maybe I'll give him, 2 minutes over. Oh, I'll give him till 6:35. And I'm like, you know what? 6:40 is when I would absolutely log off. It's 6:37. Like, 6:40 is going to be here in 3 minutes. If he doesn't come on in 3 minutes. So I'm immediately just, again, unimpressed, turned off, definitely annoyed because I drew in my eyebrows for this. Okay? Like, what? I just drew in my eyebrows. So he ends up texting me talking about, are you joining the Zoom link? And I'm like, I'm here. I've been here since this time. I've been here actually since 6:25. Now, granted, he didn't have to be there at 6:25, but I'm making it clear that I'm actually early, or I arrived here early. So as soon as I said that, he jumps on. So I'm like, what? So he comes on, and then he immediately, first of all, he comes on, his video's not on. His video screen's not on. And my video screen isn't on initially because I guess that's just how my setting is. But I asked him to put your video on. So I'm like telling him how to work. he puts it on, then I put mine on, and I'm looking at his background because I told myself, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna get this job because one, even if it was legitimate, which I think it is, but it just so unprofessionally ran that I was not interested in being a part of that job. And one, it's all the way in Katy, and those who are familiar of Houston, Katy is a suburb here in Houston, and being that I live in the city of Houston, like in like the downtown area, driving to Katy is totally inconvenient, and doing that during the evening times for what? Oh no, absolutely not. So I wasn't gonna take it anyway, but I just was curious to see how things will turn out. So his videos on, his background is of a school looking background. So he ends up showing me around the building. All I see, let me see, all I see is Indian kids. And I swear to God, I was like, absolutely not. And I'm saying this because it's probably an Indian run family business, which is fine. It's totally fine. But I don't know your culture like that, and I don't know if you like black people like that, and I don't know your intention. Like, I don't know. Like, why don't you have, like, where are the white kids? Where are the black kids? Like, where's the diversity? And maybe it was just that one Indian kid who didn't get picked up yet from this building. But it just was interesting to me that I only saw Indian kids. And then when I checked the website, I only saw Indian kids there too. So it comes off to me that it's an Indian run business. And of course, the Indians are supporting each other. So you mostly see Indians there, or only see Indians there at this time. So I'm like, I don't know. So he's showing me around the building, like literally turned his camera around. He's showing me the materials. Again, he's talking. He's doing all of the talking. Not once is he really asking me about me. Let me get to know you. What interested you of this position, of this business, of this organization? What are your goals? What do you plan to bring? The typical interview questions. None of that was posed to me. Like, what? You're just talking. You're doing all the talking. So now I had to finally cut him off. I'm like, look, I am actually unimpressed with how things are ran here, because we had a set time of 6:30 and you come on at 6:37. And yeah, so that's what I said to him. And he's like, he kind of smirks and he's like, oh, I was with the parent. You always with the fucking parent? Even if you were, nigga, now why the fuck why can't you commit to a time and follow through? Like, is there anyone else running this business with you? Where's your Indian ass uncle? Like, what's going on? So then he says that, not really taking accountability. And of course, he's speaking with his thick ass accent. I really couldn't understand anything he was saying for the most part. All I knew that he was showing me materials that was already prepared for me. So he was saying like, oh, I don't have to create lesson plans or any type of material or curriculum because it's already here for me. Which, cool, it's a flex, but it's not that serious. So I'm like, yeah, that's unimpressive. Like, you come on late and you're saying all these things. I can't even understand what you're saying. You're not speaking clear enough. He's like, he looks very disheveled in his face. Like, he's sweating and like, it's like he doesn't know what he's saying. Like, like just kind of very unprepared himself. So I just kind of like, I'm not interested at this time, or I'm not interested in this position. Thank you and goodbye. And then that was it. I ended the call. He ended the call. It was done. But the point is, look, it may have not been scammy, but it was absolutely unprofessional. And I feel like had I taken that job, even if, justifying it in my mind, like, look, it's just some income coming in, trying to just take it for the money, I am not doing it. I'm not going to get a job in which I'm going into it already unimpressed, already disappointed in the poor professionalism that has been presented since day one. Like, first of all, why don't you care about your grammar? Huh? Why don't you care about how you're coming off and your punctuality? Never mind punctuation, your punctuality. Like, you are not responding and coming to this meeting at the time that you said you were. Just very unprofessional. So that's Indian scammer or unprofessionalism part 2. Okay? I have another story. Oh, you thought I was done? You thought that was it? You thought it was over? No. There's another one that happened this week. Y'all, it's Indian week this week. At this point, it's Indian week this week. So, this other Indian. So, I'm on LinkedIn, right? Because as you know, LinkedIn is the site you go on if you're interested in learning about new jobs, new career paths that people are taking, promotions that people have. And, LinkedIn is the job professional version of social media. It's not an Instagram. It's not a Facebook or, TikTok. It's just a LinkedIn. It's very professional and prestigious. So I'm on LinkedIn. And for a couple of months now, I've been part of this hashtag community of transitioning teachers. Now, I know transition has been a word primarily used lately for people who are transitioning to another gender or another identity, right? It's not that in this case. I'm not talking about, now I'm a fucking man. No, none of that bullshit. I'm talking about teachers who are transitioning from the classroom or who desire to transition from the classroom and need support. We're talking about those who have transitioned from the classroom, how they did it, how did they get out the cycle of being a teacher. Every school year is tempting to just, I'll do it again for the next school year. This is going to be my last year. It's my last year. And you said that 3 years ago. Now it's your 13th year at the school or as a teacher in this role. So it's a community of professionals who are teachers who desire to either leave the classroom, who are sharing their frustrations with just all that comes with being a teacher. These people come from different parts of the country. So, certain areas pay very low in teacher wages, while other areas is pretty comfortable. It's pretty legitimate being a teacher. It's not this stereotypical, you make $35,000. Like, no, I actually make 3 times more than that. So there's a community of people in this hashtag who are transitioning teachers. So they share their stories of applying to different positions outside of education, outside of the classroom. And anyway, so I come across so many different types of comments and posts of transitioning teachers or teachers who have successfully transitioned into a whole different career field. And they talk about their experiences and what role they're in now. And so these posts have been very helpful and beneficial for me during this process of mine because I'm learning of different job posts or job positions that I could look into that will be pleasing for the employer to see, like, oh, yeah, you've been a teacher for the past 10 years, but this role as a customer success manager or this role as a training specialist is still in alignment with the job description and your experience. So I'm going to give you a shot, right? So there's a lot of former teachers or transition teachers who have been successful in applying to those similar roles. So anyway, one of the posts that I came across is someone who was just sharing their discouragement and just their frustrations of the job process and applying to different jobs and not getting any luck yet, but they're still going to do it, still going to persevere and still keep forward. And it's very inspiring. I really appreciate the community. So this Indian commented, and he's talking about how, just like encouraging words. He then shares how he was unemployed for 2 years and it was a rough time, but he eventually got a new gig, a new job, and it was it finally worked out. And I was just taken aback, like, damn, unemployed for 2 years? Like, what do you fucking, like, what did you do in lieu of that, right? So I was just, like, curious. So I asked him that question. And I asked him also, what position did you eventually land? So he responds, and I don't know what the fuck he said, but he then DMs me, like, quick, like, boom. I guess I was bait. Me asking him a direct question, he saw it as bait. Like, why are you DMing me, sir? Keep this on the fucking public forum. I'm not trying to talk to you one-on-one. It's not a coaching session. What are we doing right now? So then he fucking DMs me talking about he sees that I'm currently unemployed and he would love to help. And he understands the frustrations of the job finding journey and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, so I'm being honest. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's been frustrating. And I've been applying left and right and just kind of sharing, like, my qualms with it. And he responds in understanding, like, I know how that feels. And just keep on, hang in there type of speech. So he responds like that. And then he's like, if you want, I could jump on a call with you and I could help you with the job search. I'm like, for what? No, I said that part in my head, like, for what? Why do I need to be on the phone call? Why do I need to hear your voice? For what? Like, what are you going to offer me that I can't do? Like, look, I know I haven't been successful yet, but I'll figure it out. I always do. God got me. God built this. Like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm disappointed right now, but I got it, nigga. Like, I'm fine. Thank you. Like, what are you talking about? I could jump on a call and help you with your job. What are you gonna do, Bangladesh? What the fuck? What are you gonna do, Akash? Like, what are you talking about? You're gonna jump on a call to do what? Are you giving me a job? Are you gonna pay me right now? What are you talking about? Just dumb. So I said in response, I'm like, I'm fine with this chat. Like, I'm fine with just chatting here. That's what I said. He never responded, y'all. Never responded. That was the end of the conversation. Oh, so much for helping me out. So much for being someone I could vent to. Like, he was so initially understanding and like, here I'm a shoulder to cry on and, you could talk to me about anything. Like, first of all, like, are you... Who are you? Who the fuck are you, Akash? Like, what are you talking about? So, as soon as I shut him down and said, no, I'm not interested in jumping on a call with you, for what? And here's what I think what would have happened was I jump on a call with him. He says a few words of encouragement, and then he talks about a company that he has. Right? Hey, I own Happy Teachers transitioning to a different career. Right? That's the name of his company, right? I happen to have a company named Happy Teachers transitioning to a different career. And I would love for you to be a part of this program that I have. It's 5 weeks. And in these 5 weeks, you'll learn the different tools and skills and the necessary and relevant characteristics one needs to have to land a job outside of the classroom. Now, all of this just for $529. How is that, right? And so he's doing this in a way where, oh my gosh, I'm vulnerable, I'm in need, I'm desperate, I haven't been successful yet. Maybe this 5-week program that's $500.29 $529. Maybe this program will help me land a job. Nigga, shut the fuck up. I'm fine with chatting here in LinkedIn in the DMs. Like, what? And I wasn't even fine with doing that. Like, I was actually just fine with talking to you and hearing your response to my question in this public forum comment. Not for you to DM me privately. Like, what are you doing? So, yeah, These Indians are scammers. Watch out. Let's talk about any of these topics, y'all. I did not expect to spend 49 minutes talking about Indian scammers. At this point, I'm not racist. Okay, let's talk about Irv Gotti. Is he a perv? Is Irv Gotti perv Gotti? This is such a funny ass question. Yo, I think everyone is jumping into huge conclusions that are just ridiculous. Now, look, I agree. He's acting pretty, I guess, feminine like. I've been hearing some people have that same description of him with this behavior, like, oh, this is something a woman would do, right? A woman who's been scorned by a man, they will go out and blab about the man and talk to anyone and talk very crass and negative about that relationship. And that's something that a man would do, or a woman would do specifically. Now, Irv Gotti is, a man doing this, and he's just being looked at poorly, like, oh, he's creepy, he's cringy, this is feminine behavior, and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, in case you're unfamiliar, Irv Gotti, who is known for Murder, Inc., he is known for, like, he's the reason why we know Ja Rule. He's the reason why we know Ashanti, Charlie Baltimore, because of his Murder, Inc. company, or not company, what is it, like a record label, Murder, Inc. record label. So he started Murder, Inc. I don't know the actual backstory in how Murder, Inc. started, and maybe I will check out this documentary because I'm just intrigued. But either way, when you think of Irv Gotti, you think of Murder, Inc. When you think of Murder, Inc., you think of Irv Gotti. Like, he is associated with the name, because he is the owner or co-owner of Murder, Inc. So initially, there was this interview he did a couple of weeks ago with the Drink Champs podcast, and on the podcast, he's talking about how he was hurt when he found out Ashanti was dating Nelly, because apparently they had a romantic relationship for some time, and he didn't know that she moved on to Nelly because she never told him. And the only way he found out was he was turning on to a game, and he sees the video pine over to Ashanti and Nelly, in this date at the game. So that was a hard pill to swallow. But here's the caveat: Irv Gotti was legally married at this time, and he didn't say in the interview, or at least in that clip, he didn't say that he was going through a divorce or separated. So it was unclear what was going on. But a lot of people were saying that he was married at the time. So he was like, oh no, he said in the interview, I believe, that he was home with his wife and he found out that Ashanti was on this date. The same Ashanti who he was having a romantic relationship with outside of his marriage. And he was so upset to see that, but he obviously couldn't express that to his wife because, what the fuck? And he just had to keep that in. And I'm just laughing like, oh my gosh, why did you have to say that, dog? And, come to think of it, I feel like even though that could have been a genuine conversation that he was having with the guys, I feel like he did that purposefully. I feel like he is trying to gain traction for this documentary that had yet to premiere on BET. And so now that he led with that story in that podcast, then people will be intrigued to watch a documentary and bring more viewership, right? It'll bring more success to it, and BET may give him more of a check. So even though he may look bad in the public and people are calling him cringy and all that stuff, I think he did that purposefully. I think this was all a setup a rollout, if you will, for his documentary. And I think he did a good job, because a lot of us are talking about it. I have yet to watch the documentary, but I may check it out because I am intrigued. So that was the first step to it, right? So now, just recently, like a few days, not even a few, like yesterday or 2 days ago, a clip of the documentary came out, or it was surfacing online, and it was, I guess the first episode of the documentary has premiered, and in this clip that's surfacing online, we see Irv Gotti talking about how he landed his first kiss with Ashanti. Not his first kiss ever, but his first kiss with her. I feel like I said it wrong. But yeah, he landed his first kiss with Ashanti. Their kiss together. He talked about it. So he starts off by saying they were always at the studio together. They worked very closely. They had a close friendship. And we see clips, like old clips of them in the studio together. And, we see clearly, like, there's a close friendship. Like, she's laughing with him. There's a chemistry there. There's a vibe there. And he said how whenever she was in the studio, she'll wear these Juicy Couture velour sweatpants. And if you guys know, like, in the early 2000s, these velour sweatpants were the popular thing to wear back then. And the purpose of it was to really showcase your ass, the outlines of your ass. So Ashanti was wearing those sweatpants very frequently, and he said how she wore these velour sweatpants and her ass was fat. And he said it just like that. And I'm like, oh my God. So he's saying that very, very candidly, very comfortably in his interview seat in this documentary. Like, okay. So then he says, one day I asked her, I could drive you home if you like. And she's like, yeah, okay, you could drive me home. So then he drives her home. They park in front of her home. They get out together. He walks her to the door. And then he finally lands a kiss on her. He just kisses her. And while he kisses her, he grabs her ass. And after that description of that moment, he says it was a moment that was like, what took you so long? Now, when I watched that clip, initially I thought he said that she said, what took you so long? But I think I watched it again, and it didn't seem like he said that she said it. It just seemed like he said the moment was a what took you so long. And what that means is both of them were interested in each other, and both of them were giving each other that energy. Like, hey, I'm interested, I'm about it. I'm just waiting for you. And boom, he finally makes this move. That's what I think it was. I don't feel like, that's what I think, So now, of course, social media is ripping him a new one because, women can never make their own choices and lay in it, right? Women can never be okay with this older man making a move on her, regardless of how they are today. Now, just a few years ago, Ashanti was in a battle with trying to own her records and get her masters, and Irv Gotti, I think he was giving her a hard time, and I don't know if he eventually gave her ownership, but there was a period in time in which it was a battle. So we could make the assumption that there is some tension between them and they're not on good terms, and at least at one point they weren't. So to see that he's on TV talking about her fat ass and how he landed his kiss and grabbed her ass, it looks like the dynamic looks off. It looks like, he's trying to get at her online and on TV by talking about these like sexual feelings and intimate moments that they had, while she's not interested in sharing that out loud, and he spilled the beans. So it seems like a level of bullying or sexual harassment at the very least. Now, look, there's also this claim that this is predatory behavior because he is a few years older than her. And at the time of that kiss, that first kiss they shared, she was 19 and he was a few years older. So I believe he was like in his 30s. Now look, stop, close the door, have a seat. Women who are 19 years old can still make choices for themselves. That this was a choice that she, like, it was a consensual relationship. Let's not act like she was raped. Let's not act like he pinned her against the wall and said, "You're gonna give me this kiss, bitch." Like, no, that didn't happen. I don't believe that. She never came out and said that he coerced her, or there were never claims that was the case prior to anyway. So I feel like the fact that social media is trying to present this image that he's this predatory person and Ashanti was 19 and he preyed on her, it's like, can we stop? And there's also this argument of, well, Ashanti, even if she did kiss him back, she had no choice to, because he's in this powerful position, and she probably felt coerced because had she not kissed him back, he wouldn't have given her this opportunity to be in the music industry and to work with him and to build her career. And, you know, because Ashanti started off as a songwriter until she finally came out as a solo artist. So again, I feel like these are just convenient excuses that a lot of the Me Too movement that is not a thing anymore, but the residue of Me Too is still present, and the residue of Me Too is coming up and showing out as if women can't make choices for themselves, as if we're always victimized, as if we are always put in a corner and could never just be like, hey, no, I made that choice to be in a relationship that was consensual with a man who happened to be 15 years my senior. Like, that could also be the thing, right? You know, maybe Ashanti looked at it as a situation that was advantageous for her and not just for him, right? You know, maybe she saw it as, look, I do like him. We have a vibe. Yes, he's legally married, but that ain't got shit to do with me. I want to explore this, see where it goes. And cool, he happens to be of an elite position in the music industry, and I'm coming up. This could be a good look for me too. Like, it could also be an opportunity for her, right? Like, let's not act like women don't know how to find their way up the ladder. Let's stop. Like, a lot of women, I'm not saying a lot of women do this, but a lot of women who do this, who sleep upward, who purposely have intimate sexual relationships with men, whether genuine or not, they're doing it more often than not to reach higher in the ladder, okay? To climb that social ladder and to get that promotion, to get that new title at work. Like, it's a real thing. People have been doing it from the dawn of time. Once women realize, oh, my pussy matters. Oh, I could get a lot of traction and attention and money, and, you know, however you want to see that, you know, has immoral or not, it's the fucking reality. So let's not act like she was a fucking victim. Let's not act like Ashanti had no choice or no voice in the matter. No, she was a willing participant. Okay, it was a consensual relationship. And I'm just not here to continue this, like, woe is me. Like, on one second, we want to say women are just as equal, if not more, to men. And then on the other hand, we want to say women are victimized. We don't have a voice. You need to pull out our chair. I mean, pull out. Look, chivalry is not dead over here. You better be chivalrous and you better take out the trash. Hello? But, like, you know, which one is it? Which one is it? Like, am I woe is me today, or am I don't need a man today? Shit. So is Irv Gotti Perv Gotti? Make sure you are listening. Also on YouTube, leave a comment. Engage with me there so I could build my channel and the algorithm could be algorithming, okay? So again, we are on YouTube. Type in God Built This Podcast. You'll see maybe a couple of videos down because I don't know how quick it'll be up top. But, with the more subscribers, it'll grow and it'll be more in your face in the algorithm. So, again, please make sure you are subscribing to God Built This Podcast on YouTube. Simply type in God Built This Podcast in the search bar on YouTube and engage with this video. Type in your comments. What do you think about Irv Gotti? Is he a perv Gotti? And have you ever been scammed by an Indian person? Those are the 2 questions for the episode. I'm not joking. So I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. Also, if you enjoyed any part of this episode, you laughed, you giggled, you was like, oh shit, no, she didn't say that. If you had any reaction, be sure to leave a positive review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. I appreciate it all. If you would like to check in exclusive content, check out the Patreon page. The link is also and always in the show notes. And I will check in with you guys next time. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This Podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.